In 1901, a young bookkeeper named Gordon M. McGregor assumed the management duties of the family-owned Walkerville Wagon Company. It was the first step in the company's transition from wagons to automobiles, and from Walkerville Wagon Company to Ford of Canada. Born in 1873, the 28-year-old Gordon McGregor was determined to be part of the new motorized era, and in doing so, became the father of the automobile industry in Canada. In 1904, McGregor and his banker friend John Curry met with two Detroit auto manufacturers to discuss the possibility of assembling vehicles in Canada. McGregor didn't even own a horse and buggy, but was intrigued by talk of men like Henry Ford and Henry Leland, who insisted the car would replace the horse and carriage within a few years. McGregor returned from these meetings with the idea that if he could raise $125,000 through stock sales, the business would be on its way.
There are men in Detroit who say every farmer will soon be using an automobile. I don't see why we can't build autos here in the wagon factory. Gordon McGregor, 1904.
There was a gentleman by the name of Henry Ford that was manufacturing something that was called the horseless carriage. My father and the McGregor boys and my Uncle Charles said, I wonder who this gentleman with the name of Henry Ford is. So they said, I wonder if he would mind if we called him in Detroit to see just what this horseless carriage was all about. Mr. McGregor said to him, would you be interested in coming to Windsor at that time? And he said, oh, I'd be delighted to, because I've never been in Canada and I'd love to come to Windsor. I guess the meeting was just very exciting for the whole five of them. And the discussion about the horseless carriage and what Mr. Ford was doing in the States was held. In conversation, they said, well, if your horseless carriage plays well and is sold and becomes very popular, would you be interested in maybe helping us to start a Ford Motor Company in Windsor?
Windsor was full of skeptics on the merits of the motor car, and it was a long, tough battle for McGregor. However, 57 shareholders, including some from the United States, were called to their first shareholders meeting in August 1904. Henry Ford was elected vice president of the Canadian company. John Curry was elected treasurer, and Gordon McGregor was appointed general manager and secretary.
Having a well-known make like Ford, the success of the Canadian company is almost assured from the outset. Considerable credit is due to Gordon McGregor for his efforts in getting the Canadian company started, as the addition of an automobile industry to the many industries now in Walkerville will be of great benefit to this community.
For the use of all U.S. patents and the right to the Ford name, McGregor agreed to give 51% of the stock of Ford of Canada to the shareholders of Ford USA. McGregor also obtained rights to sell Ford products in the then existing British Empire, exclusive of the British Isles. By the end of that first year, 25 cars had been assembled. Early on, the company relied on the U.S. parent company to supply components for the vehicles. However, by 1913, Ford of Canada was the first automobile manufacturer in Canada to build the complete automobile from raw material to the finished product with 100% Canadian components. McGregor unfailingly guided the company through many difficult times. He had a keen understanding of the automotive business and also of human nature. His employees were loyal to a fault, and his initially skeptical investors were richly rewarded for their early faith in him. In 1922, Gordon McGregor died when he was only 49 years old, and at the time of his death, even his most expansive dreams had been realized. That year, over 50,000 automobiles were built by Ford of Canada, and almost 7 out of every 10 cars sold in Canada were Ford of Canada products. The legacy of Gordon McGregor was demonstrated in Canada's mass production capabilities during the Second World War. Roughly 900,000 war machines rolled out of Canadian war plants, more than half of them from Windsor factories. Gordon M. McGregor, a legend in Canadian manufacturing.